You may be familiar with some of the coin-operated early gramophones, which eventually evolved into the jukebox. Well, this is a very special one. This one was marketed by the Universal Talking Machine Company. And what it is Frank Seaman, who I mentioned before was the retailer for the Berliner gramophone, where Berliner held the patents. Eldridge Johnson built the machines, the improved gramophone or the trademark machine of 1897. And Frank Seaman was in charge of selling the machines. Frank Seaman had the idea we need coin-operated gramophones to compete with the Edison coin-operated cylinder machines. So this is what he came up with. Now, he got permission from Berliner to use his patents since he was already involved with Berliner and Eldridge Johnson. So he founded this company in 1898 and started manufacturing these. And the mechanism, this is an appropriately aged horn, but probably not the one that came with it. This would have been used for something else, but a similar horn would have been on this. But this machine had you put a coin in here, you cranked it here, and then there was a plunger that you pushed in to start the mechanism. The mechanism inside, to no surprise, is a Berliner improved gramophone of 1897, but it's been highly adapted to be put in this cabinet and used as a coin-operated machine. I don't think they were very successful. Not many were built, and so as a result, they are exceedingly rare and very expensive. But let's take a look inside this so you can see the instrument's mechanism. So let's take a look inside this machine. First, let's look at the directions. As you can see, as I said, you wind it up, you drop the nickel in, or in this case, it was 1 cent, and then you push the plunger, which is located on the front. And there's the key to the mechanism, so that people couldn't touch it. It was locked. There's the crank, and there's where you put your coin. So let's open it up, and you can see in there, yep, that's a Berliner trademark gramophone. But look at how much has been done to it. You can see the winding mechanism has been attached to where the crank would normally be, facing upwards. You can see the turntable's situated the same, but there's some cast parts attached to it that are part of the mechanism. There's the coin chute, and you can see the plunger is covered with something. And then over here, that's the coin box and the mechanism that starts it up. And when it's finished playing, it will move the reproducer back to the start. And the reproducer is a little bit different than we're used to seeing. You can see the reproducer swivels in and out of the tube that attaches to where the sound comes out. So that will move along. And there's some adjustments for the start and stop positions of the record. All in all, a really fantastic machine in incredible condition. This is another version of the Berliner coin-op gramophone. This is the European version. It looks quite different. You can see the entire mechanism above the box instead of encased inside it, which obviously was a bit of a problem because you had your customers who were using the machine manipulating the running mechanism. So that's a bit of a problem. But basically what this did was the coin mechanism, which was much more simple, just allowed you to crank it. So this, without the coin, you couldn't crank it. Once you put the coin in, you could crank it up and play it. But you selected the record from a bunch that were stored here. You put the record on. You had to tie it down with the record hold down. You changed the needle, because there were needles held here. And then you cranked it up and you played your tune. Quite a lot of work for the user, and obviously a lot of places where things could go wrong. But it's a beautiful mechanism, and it's in really fantastic shape. So those are the two main coin-operated Berliner gramophones, the American one and the European one. Let's take a close-up look at this machine. You'll notice right away there's a tag on it, an ID tag. And you can see here where you put the coin. There's a plunger to start the mechanism. And this looks like a speed control. We got somewhere to put the needles, the used needles or the new needles. And then there's the slot for the records. And here's the reproducer, the crank. And you can see there's somewhere to hold the reproducer when not in use. Let's take a look inside this mechanism. You can see the plunger here to start and stop the mechanism, the speed control, and it looks like when the coin hits here, it lifts up this block, which removes that little pin and allows this to be disengaged. So when you do that, that allows that to be disengaged, and now the crank is allowed to turn. So pretty simple mechanism.